G'day and welcome to Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Starlette. How you doing, Starlette?
Doing well, thanks. Getting some needed rest after Invictus.
Yes, I'm still getting there myself. I will have a shave shortly, I promise. Um, and the voice in the void today is Adam Prescott. How you doing, Adam?
Not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Good. You've got an interesting fleet for us today to look at because you're an org leader of all things, and you've got quite a big fleet, and you're planning for an org. So can you tell us a little bit about your org, your current size, kind of where you're kind of wanting to go for, and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the leader of Tiberius Stellar Industries. We are a industry-based non-piracy org. So basically, that covers anything to do with money making, those sorts of types of things. We're currently about the 170 member mark.
Right.
Ideally, looking to the future of the game to grow probably to around the 500. That'd be ideal for me. But look, any new people are welcome. It's not like definitely no thank you, etc. That sort of thing.
Yep.
So take it as every day as it comes, as I like to say.
Okay. I forgot one thing, so I'm going to do that right now. Hashtag Jade in the comments for your chance to win an F7A upgrade. Unfortunately, Eric Lanza is no longer with us, and his mate is looking for a new home for his former friends F7A and Super Hornet. So yeah, hashtag Jade in the comments. All right. We'll cut it over the browser then, I think, and go from there. So this is your current fleet as it stands. I've just realized I'm going to move it over a bit because of Starlet's. There we go. That's probably a bit better. So this is cut into 3 packs, if I remember correctly. Is it not?
Yeah. So it's so one of my packages is the Origin Complete pack. So obviously every ship Origin. Then we have the Convoy pack. And then we also have standalone Kraken Privateer, Pioneer, Carbon Mole, and then just a Ranger RC thrown in there as well.
Right. So yeah, this was a little bit to sift through, and we kind of went through, and you're kind of really planning for the future. So I think the kind of outcome on this one is very different from what I actually expected from a regular fixed mode fleet, and I think Starlet will agree with me on that one.
Absolutely.
Algrid did go over this too initially as well, but Algrid wasn't able to make it today. So, but yeah, I'm sure he'll leave his comments below if you want to have a look at Algrid's comments. I'll pin it if he puts his comments below. If you're watching this Algrid, I'll pin your comment. All right. So let's just go through because there's obviously a lot of ships here. I want you to kind of give me more of a broad overview of the strokes you were trying to hit with your fleet. And why, like, and think back, not now, think back to like what your original concepts of going in. So like, why, like, for example, I know why you have an 890 jump and why you brought the Origin pack. So can you explain that for a bit? We'll start there.
So one of the ships that brought me to Star Citizen was the 890 jump. Like that was like the ship that I was like, that is just tremendous. I have to have it.
I have a weird visual of you riding it for some reason, like a cowboy riding into Star Citizen. It brought me here. But anyway, sorry, I digress. I'm delirious. I haven't had enough sleep.
And the way I seen it, picking up an 890 jump with LTI, impossible through CIG, expensive on the grey market. I'll just buy the Origin pack. I will use the smaller ground vehicles, 100 series, 300 series as LTI tokens to upgrade into my bigger ships.
Yeah. So let's hit some of the key things that are probably going to stand out to people. Why have you got doubled up on some things like why have you got 2 SRVs?
2 SRVs. So for me, the whole bringing the larger ships, like capital sized ships like the Kraken and Idris, out of atmosphere, definitely gonna need an SRV to be efficient. I believe like it's hard enough flying an 890 or a Reclaimer outside of atmosphere as it is already.
Don't disagree.
So the SRV added thrust and pulling power out of atmosphere, and then if a ship gets broken and I don't have a crucible on hand, send an SRV out, bring it back to the fleet. Worst case scenario. And also potential forklift for loading and unloading the whole D.
That forklift gameplay. I'm looking forward to that.
Hell yeah.
The Medivac.
2 medivacs. What I've heard, medivacs will be modular. So one of them, I'll probably set it up as 2 tier 3 beds, if I remember this correctly
So
from
so
ISC, being
so
the most severe
yeah,
injuries.
tier
Tier 1
3
is the most
room.
severe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you'd have.
so 2 tier 1s for,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say respawning as much, but for healing, like, limbs that are beyond your everyday repair. And then the other one, I'll probably set it up with, like, 2, like, Cuddy Red beds, so tier 3 beds, and then 2 tier 2 beds,
Yeah.
or something along
So
those
so
lines, because they're interchangeable.
so I'm gonna correct you. So it's 3 tier beds in one room, 2 tier 2 beds in another room, and then the tier 1 only has 1 bed. So just
Yeah,
so
correct.
you so
Yeah,
you'd
no,
have
yeah,
5
I know.
beds in one and then only 2 in the other because it'd have 2 tier 1s. Yeah, that's fine.
Correct.
I get you. I get you. Makes a lot of sense. Gives good coverage.
Mhm.
I get that. All right.
Yeah.
I think the other so give me some other broad strokes because this is quite a big fleet, so it's going to take too long to digest. So I'm trying to go over the broad strokes. So you've hit things like the Kraken. What's your intention behind the Kraken?
Mobile base. So when me and my org find a new potential place on a new planet that we want to mine or something like that,
Yeah.
park the privateer down there. It has extra accommodation on board, space for crew, etc., like that.
Mhm.
Then, if any NPCs, has the shops on it, so NPCs can come and trade. I could trade with allied organizations and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
That's the whole reason behind the price.
Similar thing with the Pioneer about building the org's bases and
Yeah.
stuff like that, I
Yeah,
assume.
definitely. Pioneer, build the bases.
Okay. And then we can see lots of other little ships in there, and I think I think we can leave it there and kind of move on. You can kind of see where he's going there, his thought process. Now, when I started looking at this, now Starlet's only come onto this today, so I've had a bit more foresight than Starlet. But when I started looking at this, he said it was an industrial org. But there's not other than the real Pioneer and some cargo and maybe the Crucible, there wasn't a lot of industry there. So if we go on to the next one, this is the one where me and Starlet have looked at today, and this is kind of what we recommended to him. So we trimmed it down quite a bit. Having an org, we thought it might be important for the org leader to have a javelin, especially when we're talking about an org the size of Adams here. And then obviously you can see we've just inserted industry ships back in. So Orion, Reclaimer, Crucible, Endeavour, and basically then just trim the fat as we regularly do.
Yeah, turn those small ships into ships that will be better value in game for the same amount of money.
And of course, we remove some of the double ops like the Medivac. And while I believe Starlet will agree with me, things like the SRV are going to be extremely important. They're so cheap that you would just buy them in game. And you could almost do that with a Medivac too. It is on the lower end. But we did say rarer things like, say, this Carbon Mole. Technically, for me, that is on the borderline between cutting and keeping. But then again, when you put the rare skin into it, then you just keep it because they're becoming a real rarity at the moment.
Yeah.
Some of those
If you're
things.
doing Warbond CCU chains, it's not worth it just for the skin. But if you're not a Warbond CCU chain person and you've got a carbon mole,
Yeah.
it's fine to keep. Yeah.
And then is there anything you want to add about this specifically, Scarlett, that we added?
I think I see a javelin in Adam's fleet, and I think I see it because he's obviously very motivated and interested in pursuing large org gameplay, even if it does tend towards industry. I see the javelin as being an org ship, and I see an org having a flagship. I see a lot of gameplay for the javelin where we're doing a lot of upgrading to the better and better components and advancing the ship as you go forward. So I think I feel it's important for an org leader to maintain the sort of flagship of the org longer term.
Yeah, the UEE Prescott type of thing. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I think this is definitely trimmed down, but the thing where it's going to change here is what Adam actually did, and he went to a solution that I would not recommend, and I did vet Adam after this. So I checked him for sanity, I checked his financials, I checked that his living situation, all that. He went the other way. So he literally wants to take what he has and just upgrade all of them. So this is what he came back to us with, and basically he's going to hold on to a lot of those starters and basically upgrade them into things that we know that are coming. So we know that they're roughly trying to get a ship in every single size category. So I've gone over things with him like the Vulcan and the Vulture and stuff like that, and I've recommended that he at the very least upgrades them to those medium large ships in the middle there. That'll give him, especially the medium one, he'll get his solo, but he'll be able to do a bit of group play. Or things like that we suggested to him as well, like we know the rumor of the Anvil Capital coming. He can get that and stuff like that. The one thing that I was a little bizarre about was the 2 Krakens. He wants to get a privateer and a Kraken, but he doesn't like an Idris. And tell us about your org a little bit, because we are going to show an org fleet image at the end here just to show you how many ships they've already got. And that's not all of them though, is it, Adam? You've actually got more than that image.
No, that's about 52 members of 173. So
which is crazy.
There's a lot where that comes from, I should say, would be the appropriate term. But yeah.
So do you see our validity in getting a Javelin for yourself as the org leader, or do you? Nah, we've got heaps. I don't need one.
I do, but I don't. Like, it definitely makes sense to have one as the org leader, flagship, that sort of deal. But for me, and being in the org, we're not a military org, so they're not going to be used as much as what like someone else's org might use them. Like, for us, the amount of Idrises we have in Krakens, they're probably going to be used a lot more than one single Javelin will be. And consolidating a lot of crew onto that one big ship may not be viable for us.
So that's why you've gone down the route of like 2 Krakens, because Krakens are going to be a lot more leaning into the gameplay you're doing, a lot more supportive role and a lot less combat-y. But you do have Javelins there if you need when push comes to shove.
We have a few.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, it really is kind of scary how close to your original fleet this is. There's not really a lot changed. In fact, if anything, you added to it. You just kind of took what you had and added to it. So it was a little weird for me. I think I don't know, Starlette, your 2 cents?
Well, I think we had some good discussions about keeping options open for later and being able to change your mind with buyback tokens and having things in your buyback list later on. We've got a long way to go before the final wipe hit. And we will get lots of new ships coming, and we will get our in fleets will be different. But I think keeping options is the key.
We did get him to add an Endeavour, so I can take that as a small win, I think. But yeah, so let's have a look at this now. So this is your fleet. It's a huge image. I'll try to maximize it as much as I can and move around a bit. You might have to pause it a little bit if you want to have a look. But yeah, this is, as Adam said, 53 people's org, and they've got what would you say, 170 or 160?
173, and that's about 52 people.
So it's not even a quarter of a third, sorry, of their entire org. And as you can see, they've got 2 Javelins, and I think you said there's at least another 4.
Yeah, something like that.
So I think where I kind of struggled here was to say to Adam, you want to have those basics covered. As an org leader, you want to be able to go to say, you want to be able to pull that ship out and just give it to someone and say, go do this. And so as long as he's got those fundamentals covered, and one of those things you said to us, Adam, is you may never use the Reclaimer. This is the example you gave. You never use the Reclaimer yourself, but you want to have it there so you can give it to someone else. And that's kind of what I sold you on, wasn't it? The whole idea of being able to back other people.
Yeah, definitely. Like the Orion, the Reclaimer, the Starfarer, and the Crucibles,
Yep.
even the Starliner, they're, I might fly them ships every now and then, but for me, they're more for purely for supporting the rest of my organization rather than me just having them for a personal
I'm
use.
I'm a little worried I oversold you on the Crucible because you went from 1 to 2. But
I did.
I did also say, like, you really do need a Crucible for if you have a capital. In my opinion, they're like mandatory because you just
That's
it's
right.
going to be too far to take them back to a shipyard and stuff like that. But you've got one for each capital or more than, because you know Pioneer, Endeavour, 890 Jump, Kraken Privateer, and Orion. They're all going to probably at some point need repair. Are you kind of happy with that? Like, going in, I think I felt your intrepidation, like you were a little unsure, but now, because we also sent you back to talk with your org at length as well. Now you've worked that all through. Do you feel like you're on a better, I guess, at least a plan heading forward?
Oh, definitely. The way I had my fleet with a lot of smaller ships, like more so ground vehicles and just like the duplicates of the Origin series ships,
Yep.
culling them and upgrading them to the larger ships that can potentially help the org later down the track is definitely something that makes more sense.
Mm.
Like, I still kept a couple of the smaller things, but then again, we don't know what ships are coming,
Yep.
and they will probably get upgraded down the track.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective for people at the moment, I think we're about 150 ships or around that number, and they said they want to have 200 before launch. So if you look at, like, again, what me and Starlette actually did here is we kind of basically almost culled most of the stuff underneath the cores there. So if you go back to this final image, you can see under there, you've got your Vulcan and all that down. They're all LTI tokens. A lot of them anyway. Some of them won't be, but you get my drift. So they're all future concepts he can just upgrade into. He can pick one and just upgrade up into it. Pick the one that's just under it and turn it into it. So when the banana boat comes out, he can just and go straight into it, or whatever it is they bring out. All right. Unless you got any other comments, Starlet, you got anything else that you want to add?
Just the standard things, this is about final wipe really,
Yep.
and about making the most of your Star Citizen backing, in turning that into the most sort of value in game at final wipe, and using industry ships and larger ships to earn your way down. So you get back all those small vehicles and fighters,
Yep.
and the little ships. They're always so much easier to earn, and you can get on with other parts of the game if that's what you want to play.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with modules. So, like, I would again stay away from things like the Endeavour Master Set. I was talking to a gentleman like yesterday, and he said he had 4 Endeavours, so he went and brought a Master Set, and I still can't justify that. I would have brought 4 more Endeavours over buying a Master Set, but that's just, well, you know what I'm saying. The ships themselves are where the core, the most of the value is, and the things that we've seen added over time, like vehicles and modules, have just really inflated in price for what they are. And it is becoming more and more difficult to sift through this as the ship fleets get bigger and bigger. All right, let us know your thoughts below, your comments, because this is a very different fleet, because remember, you are building it for an org, you are not building it for a person. So does this, as a fleet, you remember, a fleet org leader that's trying to touch as many different things as possible to support his org. And I think by having almost one of every ship, that is key, especially when it comes to industry. He's done that. He does have the financial backing, and he does want to put more money into the game. We went through all that. I crazy checked him, all that type of thing. But you're a sound mind and body, right, Adam? Yeah, just check.
I am. I definitely understand to not throw myself in a hole that I can't get myself out of. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think your org members might say a little different, but we'll leave that for another time.
Definitely.
I've talked to a few of them. I've hung out with you guys before, so yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Thanks again for Starlet. Is there anything you would like to hear in the comments, Starlet, from people? Just real quick before we move on.
No, I think I'm always interested to hear people's opinions on the different ships, and um, I think we need sort of we need to talk about keeping options open because things are going to change so far down the track. Information that we have today will change tomorrow, and as long as we can keep options open, we can be flexible about our final fleet at the point of final wipe.
Yeah. And just for my personal reference, can I get a comments in below? Do you like Starlette's pink hair over old hair? I think it looks great. I know I keep calling her grandmother purple, so I get yelled at, but that's fine. Also, just to wrap us up, sorry, I had to throw you under the bus there a bit. Hashtag Jade in the comments if you want to get a chance at an FCA upgrade and Super Hornet. We are probably going to wrap that up early once we get... We're looking at another system that's not like a regular giveaway that we're probably going to do more frequently, but we'll let you know more about that as that comes along. All right, then. Thank you for joining us today, Adam, and I hope we helped you out to the best of our ability.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. Definitely given me an insight into my fleet and things that I had not considered previously. So going forward, I'll definitely think about these things going down the track to any future ships that may release.
She's been Starlette, I've been Execute, and we'll catch you in the next one.